morning and welcome to Daybreak Live Extra on Dominion Television. It's Monday, the 23rd of March, 2026. Thank you for starting your week with us. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun.
And I am Samson Balogun. We are glad to have you join us as we bring you the stories and conversations shaping the day.
We begin this morning with a developing story around the estate of former Oyo State Governor Adebayo Alawakala, as reports emerged detailing properties across Nigeria, the United Kingdom and the United States, now at the center of a family dispute. The situation raises broader questions around inheritance, asset management and legal frameworks guiding estate distribution. All
right, after our opening conversation, we'll bring you weather reports to help you plan your day, followed by Daybreak News, where we'll take you through the major national and international stories making headlines.
Then it's on to newspaper headlines and analysis, where we will review today's front pages and unpack the issues driving public discourse. Joining us for that conversation is Emmanuel Abiola Oladele, entrepreneur and public affairs analyst.
Later on the program this morning, we'll turn our attention to the big story. Controversial festival and, of course, a gender rights debate at the Ozoro case. It's a conversation that brings cultural traditions and gender rights into focus, raising important questions about balance, reform, and societal values. And to help us examine this, we will be joined by Sam Nwoko, Deputy Editor of the Nigerian Tribune.
And as always, we'll round off with Trend Watch, tracking the conversations gaining attention across social and civic spaces.
This is Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Thank you for joining us this morning.
All right, good morning, Samson.
A wonderful morning to you, Yemi, and it's really nice to be back here on a fresh Monday morning to talk about issues shaping discourse across the country.
Right.
And we'll be starting with the former governor of Oyo State. And a lot has been done and said in recent weeks as regards his estate. And one would ask questions about preparedness of most people in the country, you know, as that is one thing that is inevitable. Every tongue, and of course, everyone will taste death at one point or the other. The only difference is that time might just not be the same. But of course, people have asked, this is not the first time we are getting to, you know, hear this, and of course, bringing this to public domain. I think about 2 or 3 years ago, the same thing happened about some properties of his that could not be touched because there were court cases going on. And you begin to ask questions about, if you are that rich as a person, what should you do to avoid this kind of situation? Don't forget that most people did not even know how rich late Christopher Alawakala was while he was here, until he's no more here. And people are beginning to share different information about how many houses he had in the UK, in the US, some in Nigeria, some landed properties that no one would even know belonged to Governor Alawakala. The only reason this is happening is because there is no common front in the family. And I don't think someone like Alawakala will pass on, and then there will be no estate, there will be no clear-cut instruction as regards how his properties are to be shared among family members and, of course, children. But this is quite unfortunate, actually. Most people would say, some people who really didn't follow this story from the beginning would want to ask questions about how prepared was he at the time when he was about to pass on.
Right, I think you're very spot on, and I think I read a particular story where the former aide said 3 days before he died, he was very agile, very bubbly, and then he didn't even give any hint that he was going to pass on. And then, just like you said, I think around 2024, Nigerian Tribune, reported that the court summoned wife as legal battle erupts over late Alawakala's estate, and I think that was when the whole trouble started. So people are asking questions. Was there not a will before he passed? Exactly. And so what is happening with the lawyer? And the major person that is taking this matter to court is the first daughter of Alawakala, and I think her name is Oluwatoyin now. She's the person that is trying to say. I think she even mentioned that at the time they sold some properties without informing her. So she's now saying that that should stop. I think that was why the court barred the wife to not sell anything. And then even apart from that 2024 order, there was another report I read yesterday, about 3 or 4 days ago now. The court is also issued a statement to bar the wife from actually selling any property again. And so one more thing that we need to talk about is the daughter. Now that's the first daughter who has decided to take the case to court. She's also seeking for a court directive for DNA test to be conducted on herself.
Some members of the family.
Exactly. And the
She
entire
also
6
required the
children
exhumation of, the late governor's
of the
body.
father. So people are asking, has he really got into that? Because someone who died in 2022, January 2022, and you are seeking for the exhumation so that they can conduct a DNA test. So people are asking, is it that the father did not confirm these children before he passed? Or, so these are the issues that we have in our hands now. So he's left to the court now. Some Nigerians are even saying maybe they can find a way to settle out of court, because it's not good for the reputation of a man that was once governor of this particular state. Maybe they can settle out of court, but I think he has gone beyond that. I even watched a clip of one of the daughters yesterday, that's Olamide, Alawakala, like she has a striking resemblance
of the
with the father.
Yes.
And then she was saying that maybe her life would be much better compared to where she is today if her father was not the former, Oyo State governor. And then so maybe there are more issues surrounding this that we really cannot talk about, until now. But I want to believe that now that the case is now, in the public, maybe there'll be more revelation concerning this case.
And this also brings us to the position of some elder statesmen in the country. You see, what is going on in the Akala family right now could happen to any other family out there, especially when, there isn't this form of coercion even before the man actually passed. And you would begin to wonder why this is happening at this time. Now, let's now take a critical look at some situations. So, in some families you have, some children who have striking resemblance with the father or maybe the mother, and you would know that, oh, this child actually belongs to. But it doesn't work that way. DNA doesn't work that way, actually. You might look like someone else in the family, and then when DNA is actually carried out, yes, you are truly a child of, the side man. But if we now put this side by side, the question is what happened before now? Because immediately he passed, there was no uproar as regards what was going to happen. Then a few months later, people begin to ask questions about what exactly is going on in the family, because this question was not there. But what should be done at this time is to now have a situation where you can settle out of court, because this is heading nowhere. In fact, if the court actually pronounces any form of judgment on these said properties, it further disintegrates the family. And then some people, Yoruba people would say, you don't come back from court and laugh. And you just might not be friends again. But most of the times you can be friends again. But this is a family issue that really should be solved behind closed doors. But if the relationship has deteriorated to an extent where we now have court cases here and there, summons, and then you now have the list of his assets flying around on the internet, then it's a big problem. And you would also want to ask, most elder statesmen, like the Olubad of Ibadan used to be Alawakala's boss. He was his deputy when the Olubad of Ibadan was actually governor of Oyo State. I think this is the time for them to play an important role in all of this. Bring all these children together, and then maybe you can find a common ground where all these issues are settled without going back to court. And I mean, we have seen situations where people, they have taken cases to court, and then they tell the court, we want to settle out of court now. We are no longer interested in the case. I think we feel we can actually get this over with without having the judge, giving a judgment on it. But has it gotten that bad that it cannot be settled out of court is a big question. Can elder statesmen also wade in and, of course, sort this out is a big question. And if that is the case, can all of these children get down from their high horses and say, look, let's all sit down and talk about this? Because the only reason why you can be in court is that you have failed to have the most important conversation, which is to have a peace meeting. You cannot continue to go this way. What will now happen to your children and your children's children when you eventually take this case to court, and then some people won? You go to appeal court. After appeal, some will say we are heading to Supreme. Some cases are not even worth hearing in court because they know you can settle out of it. But why are we here? It is because people have failed to have the most important thing, which is conversations.
Yeah, I think you're very spot on. And then some, I love to solve the internet, and some managers are saying maybe it's because the properties are much. Maybe that is what is causing the issues, because you need to take a look at the list now. Over 30 properties across UK, US, and Nigeria.
And those are the ones that were listed.
What about the ones that were not listed? So that's why I think we have issues now. That's why the court is saying, okay, stop selling properties for now. And I think it started even as way back as 2024. Right. And I just want to talk about, issues about, people who are popular when the past. The late, Albert Wigwe. And there was a time that, we heard reports that, some of his family members, especially children, are fighting over the properties. And then so Nigerians are asking.
Most importantly, the university.
Exactly. So the Wigwe University. So people are asking, is it that there was no will before he passed? So why is something like this always happening to certain persons who are very popular in the society?
Some people can be really difficult. There's a will, but then they still don't care. They want to have a share of one particular property or the other. And when you have so much properties like that, there's no way you can equally share all these properties amongst them unless you sell all of them, bring all the monies into one account, and then you distribute it evenly. But there is no way. I mean, how do you give a person a property in the UK and then another one in the US? I mean, the worth might not be the same. Someone might just feel like, why am I getting this, kind of share, and the other person is getting that. So, unless there is contentment, you are contented with what has been given to you. That's the only way there will be no issue. And if there is a will, what role is the lawyer playing at this time? Was the will tampered with? And then that brought about vote of no confidence in the lawyer, and then the family members are revolting. Is another big question. So, if they feel like the properties, they have not really declared all the properties. That is one. Two, if they feel like the will has been tampered with to favor some kind of people in the family, then is another very big question. You might have a reason to doubt what has been read out, and then you say, look, let's even head to court and sort this out once and for all.
Yes, and then speaking about the exhumation now, what if the entire family members do not agree to that? To conduct DNA tests and then exhume the body of the man, because that's another problem.
I think that would be the most disrespectful thing that could happen to someone who has passed. Okay. Exhuming them. In some cases, some even want to sell the house and then they move the body from one place to the other just because they want to sell a particular property. That also is a very big disrespect to the said man who actually worked, tirelessly to make sure that you gather so much properties. I mean, if it is that easy, you all should go out and then go and hustle and see what exactly you can gather in your lifetime. But people are so... Another thing is this sense of entitlement from people. I've seen people who actually... I think Oni and Sons, the Oni and Sons you are hearing, he at a point felt like his properties should be given out to the state government. And that is why you have that properties now, being occupied by an hospital owned by the state government. So people sometimes feel like I've given my children what they need, which is connection, education, and some other things like that. And I don't feel they need my physical properties. And then that can be passed to some other people or maybe the government. We have seen it happen before. But in this case, former late Governor Christopher Adebayo Alawakala does not feel like he should give his properties to the government. He has actually given it to his family members and his children. So what exactly would they do with it? Will they fight until there's nothing left in them? It's a big question. Don't forget that when two brothers fight, that strangers inherit their properties. That's the case you are eventually going to have if you fail to have conversations. Let's sit down. Let's have a conversation. There's no point washing our dirty linens out there. What this has done is to bring further stain to the name of the family, and I mean, which was not necessary in the first place.
Exactly. And then just like you mentioned, you see that point you mentioned, so many people think it happens in movies alone. Like the father might decide or the mother might decide to give out the properties to strangers. Right. I think there's a recent case in Ibadan, the top properties that might cause problem because they couldn't find a way. I don't know how that happened. So the mother decided to give that to maybe a stranger. Because she knows that, if she decides to give it to one of the children, it might cause problem. And then even while she's resting in the grave, there might be issues. So she decided to give the top property to one person who is not a member of the family. So I don't know how they're going to solve this now that, okay, I think a will might solve all of this now. But we are not really sure if there's a will. We are not sure about that. I want to believe that investigations are ongoing now because, I mean, it's not just about the family now. The people who were friends with the father before he passed, I mean, they should be on this matter. The people who worked with the father, they should be on this matter to do proper investigations because the family cannot just, be thrown into disarray after the passing of this man. Because if care is not taken, they might be making headlines day day after day. Just like I mentioned, if you check online now, you can see the algorithm. You see headlines pointing to the fact that, the families are still fighting over the properties. Just like I mentioned, 3 days ago, it was reported that the court barred, the wife, Kemi Alawakala, from actually selling properties without, the court. Because, I think the major point, we have like two factions now. I hate to actually, speed this, but then we have like two factions. There's the first daughter, who is arguing that properties must not be sold without her consent because she's the first daughter of the family. And of course we have the wife, and we have some other children, and I think there is even one of the children that's currently a politician now, serving as a member of the House of Reps. So
Olamiju,
exactly, Olamiju. So the first daughter, I said we need to conduct DNA tests for every single person, whether it will include the first daughter too, we cannot tell. So I don't know whether the court will give that order to say, okay, you can now exhume the body and conduct the DNA test, because most persons are saying, why was this not done even before the father passed, really?
You see, that's not the first person that would have this kind of issue after his passing. I think when Enkiyo Abiola also passed on, even till today, some children are still not comfortable with how the properties were shared and who is actually in custody of most of the properties, which is their elder brother, Kola Abiola. But then a lot is happening. The only fear I have is that they might just lose some of these properties to strangers. Don't forget, the UK and the US, they are not like Nigeria, where you can leave properties unattended to, and then years later you come back and then you renovate, you say you want to sell. We have seen that happen in a lot of places in the country. Till today, the Ogundoye family too, they are also having issues as regards who gets what, when, and where. It's a very big question. And also, if that is now the case, what should happen is what people should be talking about, especially the elder statesmen. You know that this man was a very good friend of yours. You worked together. You, at one point or the other, belonged to the same political party or the same club. And the best you can do for him at this time is to wade in and, of course, mediate amongst these children. If the governor knew, late governor or former governor, knew how many children he had, if they are all included in the will, why must you conduct a DNA test now? So does it mean that if it doesn't belong to the family, you go against the will? It's another thing entirely. So there will be an interpretation of what the law says about such situation. Is there a precedence that we can now go to and say, look, if this happens, what will be, the final resolution? But above all, we cannot continue to have this kind of conversation because it's a conversation that should have been sorted out behind the curtains. Unfortunately, it is out in the open, and people now know how many properties he owns in America, how many he owns in the UK, or how many he owns in Ibadan, or some other places across the country, which should not happen in the first place. But I would just implore most of the family members, especially the first daughter, because I think she is the only one who is really adamant about how things are done. And I also want to point this out before we take that report. If there's a will that says so-so property belongs to so-so person.
Who is the next of kin, Samson? Because if there's a will,
that's
there should
another
be
thing.
next of kin.
That's another thing.
Even for bank accounts, there should be someone, who is the next of kin.
In some cases, some family puts one person as a custodian of all the properties and then they see it and then share if there's a will. Right. But then if there's no provision for that in the will provided for the family by the lawyer, then what's the next step to take? If the properties was just willed to all family members, all children, without saying, look, this belongs to this and that, I think no property should be sold without the consent of the first daughter. But if there is a will that says this belongs to that, I think she has no right to say some properties cannot be sold unless they belong to her according to what the will says. But, well, I think this issue is still this particular story will still develop. By the end of the day, we'll see what exactly will happen, then we can just talk about it and say, look, we said this on the show.
Exactly. Once there's a we and there's next of kin, I think you might resolve
that will be resolved.
Exactly. I think it's time to take weather reports this morning. And of course, we would like to start from Ilorin this morning. And weather feels like 29 degrees Celsius. Later in the morning is expected to be around 31 degrees Celsius. Mostly cloudy around 0%. And in the afternoon, 39 degrees Celsius. Mostly cloudy around 0%. And in the evening, 31 degrees Celsius. Mostly cloudy around 0%. And overnight, we have 26 degrees Celsius cloudy around 1%, and that's what we have for Ilorin. And then from Ilorin, we cross over to Lagos this morning. All
right, at the Center of Excellence this morning, weather in Lagos currently feels like 33 degrees Celsius. but later in the morning it will drop a little bit to 31 degrees Celsius, while it will be mostly cloudy with humidity around 24%. It will rise a little by just 1 degree Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius in the afternoon, remaining mostly cloudy with humidity dropping drastically to 2%. And over in the evening, it drops further to 29 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, humidity maintaining 2%, and overnight, it is going to be around 28 degrees Celsius, while it is cloudy with humidity rising back to 21 degrees Celsius right there in Lagos today.
From Lagos, we cross to Ibadan. Weather this morning feels like 30 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 31 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 1%. In the afternoon, we have 35 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 24%. And the evening, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 0%. At overnight, it drops further to 26 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 22%. And that's what we are for Ibadan. And from Ibadan, we cross to Abeokuta South, Ogun, this morning.
All right, in the Gateway State this morning, weather is around 31 degrees Celsius. Just like in Ibadan, it will rise slightly by 1 degree Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius, while being mostly cloudy. At humidity at 3% later in the morning. In the afternoon, it rises further to 36 degrees Celsius, remaining mostly cloudy with humidity rising drastically to 24%. But by evening, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius. It will remain mostly cloudy, zero chance of humidity right there. And just like what we had, of course, in Ibadan, overnight, it drops to 27 degrees Celsius. It will be cloudy with humidity rising to 21% right there in Abeokuta, Ogun State today.
And from Abeokuta, we cross to Ekiti Southwest. Weather feels like 24 degrees Celsius this morning, and later in the morning is expected to be around 29 degrees Celsius. Cloudy around 2%. In the afternoon, we have a rise to 34 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 24%. And in the evening, it drops to 26 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 2%. And overnight, it drops further to 24 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 22%. And from Ekiti this morning, we cross to Port Harcourt, Rivers this morning.
All right, in the south this morning in Port Harcourt, River State, weather currently feels like 23 degrees Celsius right there. And later in the morning, it rises to 28 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, with humidity around 17%. But there is a promise of showers later in the afternoon, while it rises to 29 degrees Celsius, with humidity climbing to 54%. It drops to 24 degrees Celsius in the evening, and it will be mostly cloudy, with humidity dropping to 21%, while overnight, weather drops to 22 degrees Celsius. It will be cloudy and humidity around 24% right there in Port Harcourt, River State today.
From Port Harcourt, we cross to Federal Capital Territory, and weather this morning feels like 24 degrees Celsius. Later in the morning is expected to be around 30 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 1%. In the afternoon, we have 36 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 0%. In the evening, it drops to 30 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%. And overnight, it drops further to 26 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 3%. And from FCT, we cross to Suleja this morning.
All right, weather from the largest state in Nigeria, Suleja in Niger State today, currently feels like 25 degrees Celsius. As we speak, it is currently fair in Suleja. And later in the morning, it rises to 30 degrees Celsius. Of course, it will be mostly cloudy right there with humidity around 1%. And there will be a drastic rise to 37 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. It will be mostly cloudy with humidity maintaining 1% right there. And in the evening, it drops back to 30 degrees Celsius. It will be mostly clear with zero chance of humidity. And overnight, it drops further to 26 degrees Celsius. It will be mostly cloudy with humidity around 3% right there in Suleja, Niger State today.
And from Suleja, we cross to Kano Municipal. Weather this morning feels like 20 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 31 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. And in the afternoon, we have 38 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0% as well. In the evening, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. And overnight, it drops further to 22 degrees Celsius, mostly clear around 0%. I'm from Kano. We go straight to Maiduguri, Borno State this morning.
All right, the weather in Borno State this morning currently feels like 20 degrees Celsius. It is currently sunny right there. And later in the morning, it rises by 13 degrees Celsius to 33 degrees Celsius. It will be mostly cloudy with zero chance of humidity. It rises further to 39 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. It will be sunny with zero chance of humidity, while it will be clear in the evening and overnight, with weather being around 28 degrees Celsius and 22 degrees Celsius respectively, with zero chance of humidity in the evening and overnight right there in Maiduguri, Borno State today. And that will be all we can take on Weather Report this morning. With it, thank you for joining us on the show so far. Do well to link up with us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. You can watch us live on our Facebook and YouTube channels at Dominion Broadcast. Do well to follow us on our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast and on Facebook at Dominion Broadcast Television. Now it is time to go on a short break. And when we return, we take the news. We'll be back.
Hello and welcome. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television. Ibadan, Amoluwayemi Adelakun. The federal government has announced plans to scrap the junior secondary school common entrance examination. Minister of Education Tuji Alausa said the exam will be replaced with a continuous assessment system that tracks pupils' performance throughout their primary education. He also reviewed plans to introduce a learner identification number to monitor pupils' academic progress from primary school onward. The minister said the reforms are aimed at improving access to education and addressing the high number of pupils who fail to transition to secondary school. Troops of Operation Adinkai have dismissed report of insurgents planning to overrun communities in Borno State. In a statement by Apollonia Anele, the military said Ngonshe and Gosa remain under firm control. The army described the claims by Boko Haram and ISWAP as propaganda aimed at creating panic. Troops reportedly repelled an attempted incursion and neutralized several insurgents. The military added that residents observed 83 peacefully without disruption. Talking politics, the All Progressives Congress (APC) has fixed March 24th for the screening of aspirants seeking national offices. The exercise will be held at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja ahead of the party's March 27th national convention. Secretary of the screening committee, Isa Iguda, stated that only aspirants who have completed the nomination process will be screened. He added that candidate must appear in person with relevant document. The screening is part of activities leading to the party's national convention. Similarly, the African Democratic Congress (ADC) has commenced the sale of expression of interest and nomination forms for its upcoming congresses and national convention. In a notice signed by Chinedu Edigo, the party invited interested members to obtain forms. The expression of interest form costs 2,000 naira, while nomination fees vary by position, from ward to state level. The party also set 10,000 naira as the fee for national convention delegates. Aspirants are required to secure nominators who must pay a non-refundable fee. Senator Natasha Potil-Duan has said the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has lost 31 senators due to its internal crisis. She spoke in Abuja during the inauguration of the party's convention committee. The lawmaker expressed concern over the wave of defections, but said the move to reorganize the party signals a path to recovery. She added that the PDP remains committed to rebuilding ahead of future elections. In business, Nigeria's Minister of Information, Mohammed Idrisa, said the country is ready to support global energy stability. He said Nigeria is prepared to contribute to oil supply as tensions in the Middle East disrupt production and drive up prices. Idris noted that the government remains committed to strengthening international partnerships under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He added that ongoing reforms are improving Nigeria's economic outlook and global standing. And in sport, Warriors midfielder Tajiri Emonina has said the team is ready for the final phase of the NPFL season. He highlighted discipline, mentality and fitness as key to their remaining matches. Warriors face Bender Insurance in a match day 31 fixture in Azoro. The team is currently 11th on the table with 39 points, just 3 points above the relegation zone. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cast. And the hence Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakon saying thank you for watching and good morning. Welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us this morning. This is newspaper headlines and analysis. And I'm not alone. This morning I have with me Emmanuel Abiola Oladele, who is an entrepreneur and a public affairs analyst. Welcome aboard this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We start with the Punch newspaper this morning. Of course, the banner headline is calling my attention, which says 2027 strategy, Makinde meets Kwakwanso as PDP reconciliation falters. Makinde Bala Kwakwanso meeting sparks fears of mass movement to NDC, not even ADC now. And of course, Wike Makinde PDP camps clash again over convention support for Tinubu. PDP factions trade blame for failed reconciliation talks. So it appears that the big wigs of the PDP are trying to trade blames now. But then there was a meeting between Makinde and Kwakwanso, and of course, even Obi had some other meeting, yesterday, and of course, I think about last week. So people are saying, is there a chance that there will be another shake-up, especially in the coalition party, that people might move from the ADC to the NDC now? And then is there a chance that Peter Obi might still leave? Because he's looking like he might not even get the ticket. And looking at the new electoral act now, if you stay in the party and the primary is conducted and you don't leave before that, you might not be able to jump to another political party, unlike before. What do you make of all of this?
Yeah, it's a whole lot of hiatus running around the Nigerian political climate as of today. If looking at the whole scenario, and I think one of the things that jumped to mind was that we are getting a bit of our prayer. There was a time that we were always clamoring that Nigerian political system has become a two-party system. Okay. There was a time we were saying that PDP and APC, another party had the opportunity. But now we've now come to a time where different parties have almost the same fighting advantage. That is, not just PDP and APC had the fighting advantage for the presidential elections. Now we see ADC coming up. Last one, we see LP also pulling the weight. Now we see NDC trying to also jump into the game and have its own fighting chance. So yeah, it's a part of our prayer being answered. However, the prayer is not fully answered because in a way we still see a particular political party being the major stakeholder in this particular election cycle. So now coming to the usual of Kwakwanso, Peter Obi, and our governor in Oyo State, Makinde, we see that there's a whole lot in play, and I still see it as a puzzle being moved around that they've not seen the spot for each puzzle piece yet. So they've not gotten it here. There's a way you just. There's this game. I've forgotten the name at the moment. It's a bowling game. When you throw the game, you keep scrubbing the floor to follow the path of the ball until it reaches the circle, the spot. So that's just what it is at the moment. They've not gotten that thing they really expect here. So you see them moving around, having meetings with different political factions, and also that's still what is in play. They've not gotten the piece of the puzzle in their spaces yet. Now, about the PDP internal crisis, is a lot, and I think we have a week to go for their national convention. And if things are still like this, although we have a week, and we know in Nigeria, a day is enough for anything.
24 hours
24 hours is a lot. So I think they have like 7 days of a lot. Okay. Even 1 day of a lot, so they have 7 days of a lot to happen. So yeah, let's see what will happen. And for this NDC, yeah, I see Peter will be defective to NDC.
Really?
Yeah, because he doesn't have that in ADC. What he wants.
Do you think his followers, the obedient, will follow him? Because the obedience are even divided as we speak. Some are with Dati in Labour Party, and some are with Peter Obi. So him moving again from the ADC to the NDC, what does it speak about him as a politician?
Yeah, it speaks volume. It speaks volume in the sense that he is not loyal. And that's one of the things that will affect his political candidacy. He's not loyal to the sense that his dilly-dally is just jumping around, jumping boats every time any issue comes up. That's Nigerian politics sometimes, although that might happen. But most of the time we've seen that people that really win big stay focused. Okay. You see Atiku vying in one particular political party for a very long time, although now he's in ADC. But we see the loyalty. We see our Seyi Makinde too. We see that play out for him. And there's one president too like that contested for a very long time before.
But Atiku has been moving too, though.
Yeah, but he stayed longer in PDP. He stayed longer and he really fought his battles. And I would actually give him his flowers too. But now coming to Peter Obi and all, Peter Obi moving, I see his support dwindling. If he moves to NDC now, his support will dwindle. Because when he left Labour Party, not so many people followed him.
Okay.
Now he's in ADC. If he leaves ADC, it will keep reducing. So it will affect his candidacy because of his lack of loyalty and his instability.
Okay, so is there a chance that Makinde might still align with Wike now? Because even the likes of Natasha Akpoti-Adohan recently aligned with the Wike faction. So do you see that happening? Do you think it's an option for him, in your own opinion? Do you think it's an option for Makinde instead of moving to the NDC?
Nah, because he has nothing to lose, truth be told. He's not vying for that as of today.
But what about his political relevance after this whole 8 years?
Yeah, that's what makes, in fact, for me, if he wants to keep his relevance, he has to stay in PDP. Really? And I want to call Makinde what you call a statesman. Makinde is a true statesman. He is not someone who is easily swayed by what is happening around him. You see his consistency in support of PDP. You see his consistency. The reason why he led a faction was because he believed that there's a value, there's an ideology of PDP that had to be retained. Okay. That's why he led his own faction. So he's a true statesman to the PDP movement. So I don't see him moving. It's true because he had several opportunities to move. There was a time he had a meeting with I think 2 weeks ago that opinions were rising that, oh, he will move today, he will move today, he will move today. But still, he's still there. He's still in PDP. So I don't see Makinde. I respect Makinde so much. In fact, he's one of the people that embody the true values of Awolowo. Not so many politicians do that anymore. In fact, I was speaking with two elders last week, and they were telling me that no politician in the last 2 decades has held the values of Awolowo like Sheikh Makinde.
But some will argue with you that, I don't even know why we're saying on this matter, but some will argue with you that, Makinde only did more during his first term. So if you compare his first time with the second term, you might not really, not really say that, especially with your own claim that he's more of an Aoist.
Yeah, he's an Aoist, funny, but okay, just to me, I don't know where's the popular opinion, but truth be told, he did much more in his first time than his second time, because first, he needed the second time renewal. So he had no choice than to do the first time. But he has also done some great things in this second time. Maybe not up to standard, but I think I'm an apologist for Sheikh Makinde because I want to say some things that will support.
Okay, I understand. Let's just cross to another headline.
Yeah.
Okay, let's cross to Nigerian Tribune, and of course, I have this headline. Okay, let's cross to Nigerian Tribune. This headline is saying, insecurity, my foreign trips paying off. France, UK committed to supporting Nigeria. That's coming from Tinubu. And then some Nigerians are saying it appears that the president is not aware of some of the agreement he signed when he went to the UK, because especially with some Nigerians who are staying in the UK illegally. So if you read some of those things, it means that they are going to be deported without, they don't even need to take, permission from Nigeria anymore. What do you make of that? Yeah,
they've been selling Nigeria for a very long time. So it's not today they started selling us. Let me put it that way. So if he signed that accord, I mean, what you call a convention, an agreement between nations, if he signed that accord in those particular terms, it's very bad on us. It's a bad image on us saying that you can do whatever you like to a citizen without our permission. That's just what it means, literally. So it's a bad one. And now, come to the issue of insecurities and weapons and all, support from France. And
Are we seeing the effect?
You know me, on my stance on this issue is that they are not doing enough. If you listen to me a lot, I usually say, no, they are not doing the proper thing. What they are doing is not enough. They will not see the results. But I mean, when I was reading this news yesterday, I think yesterday or today, I just came to why not give them a benefit of the doubt? At least he's doing something, right? He spoke with French president for hours, according to him, for hours before he could come to an agreement. Then with the UK government and all. Emmanuel, why not give them a benefit of the doubt? However, my stance is still that they are not doing enough. Whatever they are bringing in now is an Hail Mary for his candidacy. He's not for anything. He should have done something like this 2 years ago. There was a time, if you remember, Jonathan's regime, where 1 billion naira at that time became an issue for defense budget. Okay. 1 billion naira was spent, and some people embezzled it. They were supposed to get weapons from South Africa and US and all. And that was true effort being put in place. But now you see you have a few months to your own candidacy, then you start bringing all these things just to bring a good image of yourself. So I feel like it's too late, this remedy. It's too late. However, yeah, at least it's taking steps. But I want to see what France wants to give us that we've not used so far. Is it air support from the US? Is it guns by the used? Is it grenades? Is it intelligence system? Is it reconnaissance efforts? I don't know what France, the special things France is actually bringing to the table now that will change, that will tilt the game towards us. I mean, against the bandit and also. Yeah, we are giving them benefit of the doubt, but still, they're not doing enough. It's as if they're late to the game if they are doing this at this time.
I think we are more reactive than proactive.
Yeah, we are more reactive than proactive.
But if you look at Nigeria in the last 10, 15 years, I mean, we've always, we are still struggling with insecurity, really. Yeah. So some persons are saying it's majorly not about this current administration. Maybe it's like a template, and then past presidents have not been able to solve it. So it's becoming more complicated even as we progress as a country. All
right, let me just say this before we leave this section. Okay. I think I've said it before that a president, I think that was Obasanjo, just said that if banditry, terrorism, and all goes beyond a particular time limit, it involves stakeholders in the government. If you can't solve the issue of banditry, terrorism within a very short period of, I think he said a day, a day or like a week thereabouts, then that means it goes deeper than we can see. So if it becomes a recurring event, a recurring occurrence in Nigeria, then definitely there are a lot of factors in place, and I personally am of the opinion that not enough is being done because there are people in place that are reaping the benefits. You see people, private military, you see weapons, people selling weapons to the Nigerian government. Now, those people selling weapons will not want to go out of business. So that might be a conspiracy theory, but if it's becoming a 15-year problem, we've not gotten it and they are doing something wrong.
Okay, I like that, you are always very blunt about your opinion, and because of time, just like you mentioned, let's cross to the Vanguard newspaper and check what is happening. And of course, I have a headline that says, U.S.-Iran encounter threat over Strait of Hormuz, a blackout, NLC wants urgent overhaul of power sector, 6 single energy ministry insists on no bailout for Genco. This goes as power crisis deepens. UK expands detention capacity to speed up deportations. I think that's another story entirely. But let's talk about, the claim of NLC wanting, a single energy ministry. Can that solve anything? Are they on the right course to ask that, we move to one single, energy ministry?
Yeah, in fact, I don't see it as any issue if you have a single energy ministry, because a ministry is just an administrative oversight. A ministry can have directorates, a ministry can have parastatals, a ministry can have subdivisions. So if there's a ministry, if I just make the administrative roles and functions easier and better, and it in fact saves us cost, because if you have 2 ministries running a sector together, that's what you call an overlapping function. But if there's a single ministry performing administrative roles, what they need to do is just increase parastatals or increase directorate. Now you see something about education sector in the north. There was a state last week that had two different ministries for its education sector, but now match them together now and just created a further directorate. So that's what could have. That's what can happen. Thank you so much. That's what can happen. And bringing those 2 ministries together, over times in a different administration, we've seen ministries being merged together. In fact, ministries that are far apart. You see, I think sports, culture, tourism, all of them sometimes are merged and separated all the time. So that, to me, that's an issue. The issue is that, what are they doing? Are they bringing the right parastatals up? Are they bringing the right policies in place? Ministry, again, is not an issue.
What about the system? Yeah, I think you have even mentioned it. Is the system not the problem? And then the people that will handle, these, offices?
That's it. Thank you so much. Because if you're saying you're doing this, but the thing is used to tame, don't let me say tame, to manage the system is wrong, or is the people there are doing the wrong things, you won't get the right results. So ministry is not an issue. It is the system, the people, the policies that you're putting in place that is the issue. So, for example, let me just deviate a bit. You see, IEA, that's International Emergency, something that's for petroleum reserve, whatever. When this issue of Iran war broke out, I think there was they dispensed 400 million barrels of oil, something there about. That was just a policy in place, and that policy helped to curb some things. That's the price, the surge in price of petroleum. That now, if we're looking at Nigeria now, what are those policies you can put in place? We have brilliant minds in Nigeria. We have brilliant policies in Nigeria, but they're being exploited and implemented properly. So for me, the issue of one ministry is not bad, actually, but what are we doing? What are the things that are being put in place? That's the issue.
Okay, it's a fun place to put that discussion. Still, connected to that headline, let's cross to Daily Trust, and I have a headline that says, Nigerians' woes deepen as petrol hit 1,400 naira. Is that, your reality in your area? Because some still buy for around 1,400, How are Nigerians supposed to cope in the next few weeks? Because we don't know when this whole war will come to an end.
Yeah, I think I still fought a bike man today.
You fought the bike man?
Okay, we fought.
Okay.
He said you go for from 1,430.
Wow.
That's a lot. Facts be told, because you can. But just coming back, it affects the cost of living. That's just it. I plan to spend this amount of money on transport.
You get cranky easily.
Do you get?
Okay.
So that's what happens. Now you need petrol, you need fuel. Okay, jet fuel just increased this morning.
Right.
I think they said from 900 naira to 995 naira. That's increased to 2,700. That's a lot. That's times more than 100% increase. So that will affect the cost of FS. People buying ticket and all, it affects the cost. Now we see cost of production too. If that's for industries, then you see surges in price of things. So you start buying the cup you're supposed to buy for say 1,000 naira. Start buying at 1,500. Then house rent will come to increase, because landlords too we have to increase the cost of rent and also. We see these having a what you call a domino effect. It just, once one happens, it just affects the all other things. So yeah, it's a very bad one. However, this particular issue to me is not fault of the Nigerian government, no fault of the refinery companies. That's
not the fault of Dangote. Okay.
No, it's fault at all. Okay. It's a global phenomenon that affects all countries. If I still watched a video where a bike man, I think in the US or in the UK, wanted to fuel his vehicle, but when he saw the pump price, he was shouting and lamenting, and a driver had to come out of his car and just say, bro, just calm down. But he was very annoyed at that. So it's not a Nigerian issue, it's a global phenomenon. So the only thing we can hope for is the war to subside, and then we see. I think Trump made a threat to Iran that they should open the Strait of Hormuz, or else it will bomb their power plant. So, I mean, that 48 hours, that's yesterday. So by tomorrow morning, let's see whether his threat is made good. So, but we see Iran is a stubborn.
Iran is at this point?
Iran is a stubborn nation. But don't let me go into the war. Anyway, there are so many analyses on the war, but let's hope that the war comes back. And one of the things that we actually now, let me now take it to the Nigerian effect in that we don't have enough put in place. Do we have enough reserves? Do we have enough bailouts from the government in issues like this? Is subsidy removal really helpful? I mean, these are just questions we need to put in place.
On that subsidy removal, the president said, he's been able to pump that money into several sectors, especially when it comes to what the governors take every single month. I mean, for some of them, it's an 100% increase in terms of their revenue compared to what they were taking. There was even a time the president said, hold your governors accountable. They are getting more money compared to the past administration. So is that not, one of the advantages of, this subsidy removal? Yeah,
truth be told, governors are not getting more allocations to their budgets. But what you call ripple effect, we are not seeing it. I don't know. Maybe when I become a governor one day, maybe I will know what was actually happening there. Okay. But I mean, if you're pouring something into something, you should see the consequential effect, right? Okay. But he said he's doing it, but they are not producing whatever I said he's doing it. So it's up to them. It's an internal administrative whatever that I really don't have so much knowledge about.
We even have 31 governors in the APC, unlike before, that we didn't have as much as now. So I think if there's a way, do you think the president should find a way to actually make sure those governors are accountable.
That's what I'm saying.
Now that we have
Exactly.
majority.
It's an administrative issue that he himself can do, not us. You don't tell us to hold them accountable. We've tried that severally and nothing has come to play. So he's the one to put his men into play. He has EFCC to do that.
EFCC that most politicians are complaining that they are
That's
using it to witch hunt them.
Thank you. Do you get the gist now? He has EFCC.
Should EFCC not work because some persons will think, okay, they are trying to witch hunt us?
No, EFCC, we already know them. That's what they do. So EFCC does not work unless they are told to work. That's it. So
really?
Yeah, I don't see them doing independent investigations on those high stakes. High stakes though. Low stakes like Yahoo Boys. They do that independently with anybody asking them because they will make money, of course.
Wow.
That might be whatever. So,
if there's an EFCC person on this table, they might just want to swap it out with you because according to them, they are doing a lot for the country.
And a lot for the country.
Look at this, recent
Bello,
and of course the former, Attorney General.
Right.
They are still on the case.
Yeah. Let's see where it goes. They've been dragging it for how many days? How many weeks? We should have seen the headway. Well,
let's hold on. Let's be positive on
we
this
should be
matter.
positive for
Before we go out at this point, let's cross to Daily Independent and have this headline that says, failure to zone ADC ticket to South with Tinubu re-election. Really? Because, if you look at the body language of ADC as it stands now, Atiku might just get the ticket. I'm not saying he's going to get a ticket, but he said he's going to contest for the primaries. So, these people are saying if you just make a mistake and zone to the South, Tinubu might just remain the president. I think that's what the headline is saying. So I beg your pardon. Failure to zone ADC ticket to the South with Tinubu re-election. So they are saying it should not be zoned to the North, but to the South. But then we have a Southern president.
Yeah.
How do you kick out a Southern president with a Southern candidate?
No, I think that's the logic behind it. That if you give the slot to a Northerner, that means Tinubu already has the whole Southern part to himself. Okay. That means he has 100%. Let's just assume he has 100%. Of course, maybe 90. He has 90% to himself. But if you zone into the South, at least whoever you're giving in the South, we take, let's say, 30%. It will affect Tinubu's votes. So let's say he has taken 30% out of 90%. So Tinubu will have 60%. So it will affect his vote. But if you don't even give a Southerner at all, he literally owns it. Do you get the logic behind it now? So that's what they are trying to say. But we know Nigerian politics that really, it's not about the geopolitical zones. Really, it's just about who knows who. It's not about who has what in play. So,
but who in ADC now, a Southern person candidate, can actually slug it out with the president?
That's OB.
Really?
Yeah, that's
OB. It will be that we are hearing rumors that it might still defect to NDC.
Yeah, that is when if he's given the slot.
Okay.
But
looking at the electoral act now, what he did in 2022 when he moved from PDP to Labour Party, when it was obvious he won't get the ticket, he might not be able to do that now.
Yeah, that's the case. And he knows. So that I think one of the things he's doing at the moment, I'm just thinking for him, is that he's weighing his options at best. He's looking at what works most for him. He's looking at the best outcome for him. If Atiku comes out, which is coming out, to vie for the primary, then Obi has no chance. He's obedient. They're not really obedient anymore.
Really?
They are now disobedient.
Okay. This is a fun place to leave that conversation. We need to go away. Big thanks to Emmanuel Abiola Ladele for being a part of this conversation. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako. We take a short break, and when we come back, we move on to Big Story. Please stay with us.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Casts. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Good morning and welcome to The Big Story, your trusted platform for in-depth conversations on the issues shaping our society. I am Samson Balogun, and today we are diving into a topic that has sparked intense reactions across the country: the intersection of culture, tradition, and gender rights. And our focus is the controversial festival in Ozoro that made headlines and after a report of violence and alleged rights violations surfaced. What was meant to be a celebration of heritage has now ignited a broader national conversation. Where do we draw the line between preserving tradition and protecting individual rights? To help us unpack this complex issue, we are joined by a seasoned journalist and voice of reason in public discourse. Sam Nwoko is the deputy editor of the Nigerian Tribune. So stay with us as we explore the facts, the tensions, and the way forward. The festivals across Nigeria are more than just cultural displays. They are deeply rooted expressions of identity, history, and the communal values. However, in recent times, some of these traditions have come under scrutiny, especially when they appear to conflict with evolving societal standards and human rights. The Ozoro case is a striking example. What began as a traditional festival reportedly escalated into violence, with allegations that certain practices during the celebration infringed on the rights and dignity of individuals, particularly women. Eyewitness accounts and circulating reports suggested incidents of harassment and forceful participation, raising serious concerns among civil society groups and, of course, the general public. This is not an isolated situation. A similar controversy recently emerged in another part of the country where long-standing cultural festival faced backlash after participants and observers accused organizers of enabling practices that endangered attendees and violated personal freedom. In both instances, authorities were called upon to intervene, and debates quickly moved from local communities to national platform. These developments have reignited a critical question. Can culture evolve without losing its essence? While many argue that traditions must be preserved at all costs, others insist that no cultural practice should override the fundamental right and safety of individuals. So it is within this tension between heritage and human dignity that today's conversation sits. And I'm joined honorably in the studio by Sam Nwoko. He's the deputy editor of the Nigerian Tribune. Sam Nwoko, good to have you again.
Good to be here. Good morning. Good morning, viewers.
As an experienced editor, and of course, during the days when you ventured into this job, you were on the field constantly as a reporter, and you saw so much. You covered traditional events, and you saw it evolve over time, where modern day politics are being played. But definitely, you saw what happened in Ozoro. At least you did not, if you did not witness, you saw the reports, videos flying around the social space. And then if you compare that to what you've seen in the past and what is happening now, what changed? And how can we now balance human dignity with preservation of cultural traditions?
Thank you. A whole lot of things are lumped. Traditions have, over the years, been, should I say, bastardized? They have been debased to a large extent. Many of these traditions are no longer with their essences. They are no longer holding to their original intents.
We have derailed.
We have derailed with many of them, with many of these traditions, many of these cultural practices. So when you go from community to community, you see that people who don't have a proper grasp of what that tradition entails, what it originally means, actually make it worse than it is intended to be. Then the age where we are in now, the age of information and communication technology, the ICT age, the Gen Z or Gen Alpha, I don't know which one it is, but the modern age, you can not keep many things away from public glare. If your community tries to keep it, it will be on the social media. Other communities will tell you that you have gone wrong and you have infringed or impugned on human and individual rights, and also the Constitution. So that is where we are as we speak today. Like you said in your synopsis, it's a very, very, very huge intersection between culture, tradition, and individual rights. So as we are today now, culture has become not endangered, but it has become so debased that it has turned around to be a danger to the people. So instead of culture being endangered, some individuals have made culture to be a source of danger to individuals.
So as a journalist, how would you describe what happened in Ozoro?
It's shameful. It's indeed very, very sad. You see, some of the experiences I have had as a reporter, when I worked in Ekiti State, in Ikole local government, there is a festival in which women are not supposed to come out. Unfortunately, I wanted to find out if they still do it. And I'm talking about some 4 or 5 years ago. So I was supposed to meet a client, somebody who was proposing to do some things with the Nigerian Tribune. So when I called, the person said, Mowani Isemule. That was my first time of hearing that. I said, what is Isemule? You know, Se Mo Ile. She said, that she can't come out. That I said, oh. Is something happening? He said, yes, it is their week of, she named the festival. So when we eventually met, I said, in this time and age, they still lock you people. We say, it's tradition, it has to be.
With your Lolu masquerade in the
you know. So it was a shocker to me. I said, But when I look around me and smelled the coffee, I felt, this is strong. It's in Nikole local government. Then come to Ibadan, which is a cosmopolitan city, and which has been like that for ages. There is Ololu, which must not be seen by women. Now, I remember a few years ago, there was a controversy about the women peeping and so on and so forth. That is also there. The Oro, in 2023, there was Oro in the afternoon. Abi? Right. Preparatory to the general election. So, are we trying to preserve this culture and infuse dignity in it, or we just want to use them to create certain idiosyncrasies in our people? That is on the one side. What happened in Ozoro is very, very shameful. It might not have gone, it might have gone unreported or without reactions if there was no recording and posting. So that is why we say the social media has brought us to a new level of realization in this. You know, the leaders of the community tried to tell us that it is hoodlums who did that. In my own community where I hail from, when we do the annual masquerade festival, there was a day I had to hit my younger brother for intercepting a vehicle, you know, because the major road which passes through our community from Umuahia to Ikotemene, it's a very busy road. And that day, he just went and stood on the road, created barriers, and they were extorting money from motorists. So I was coming from the festival ground. I saw him. I said, how could you be doing this? You know, people say, no, it is our tradition. I said, no. I removed the barriers myself. I said, if you do this and the police arrest you for unlawful extortion for creating a barrier on the federal highway and things like that, you go in for it. I'm not going to answer for anything. So I removed the barriers, and when he tried to resist, he's my younger brother, I hit him and dragged him home. Because, yes, it is. I was there. I was part of it. I celebrated the masquerade. But I was not part of the other things that were attached to it. So that is why I understand what some people were saying about what happened in Ozoro, especially the leaders of the community. You know, they say there is one, the Beckley Asiafa, they are the president general of their community, and also the youth leaders and so on. So on that grounds, I understand them. But on the other hand also, they must look into how this thing will be managed.
I was about to ask you that question. That do you think some cultural practices in Nigeria are due for reforms, especially ones that affect women and some vulnerable?
It's not just women. It's when I was growing up, I was with my grandfather, and one day they went to there's a coven, and he went for a meeting. So I tagged along. In fact, I was like he didn't know. So when he arrived at a place and there was palm frond with which they crossed the road, I couldn't, because I have known growing up that when you see something like that, it's like no entry, it's a barrier. So I stood and watched him. He went in there with other elders with whom they sit around and do things. I say, what are these people going to do? So later they began to scream that strangers are not welcome. I say, strangers are not welcome. I was confused if I was one of the strangers that were not welcome. Wow. So I ran back home. My grandmother asked, where did you go? I told her. She said, you don't do that, and so on and so forth. So when my grandfather came, they told him. He said, well, he is my son, so nothing would have happened to him. But I didn't like it. I said, why would strangers not welcome? People come from other communities, from Umuahia, from Ungwa land and so on, to trade with us. And you now say strangers are not welcome. How will my mother sell her wares? You, Baba, that was a tobacco merchant. How would you, So those kind of things, they no longer do it. Right. All those things no longer happen. Modernity have taken over. But we still have it. In Lagos, my son is in LASU. He's rounding off by the grace of God. My daughter finished from LASU. So when they talk about doing, the common word is Oro. When they do some of these things, he said that day nobody goes to school. Because you can't go out. You can't do this, you can't do that, especially the girls. So we still have some of those things. And I am sure that it is disrupting the economic and social life of people. And the government has to look into this. But sometimes we tend to act based on our whims. Politicize some of these things. But in reality, they are affecting our socio-economic life and even our religious life as a people.
So can cultural practices evolve without losing its identity? Or does change really dilute tradition?
Yeah, well, change dilutes tradition because you have to lose some of them. You have to shed some of them. There are certain things I will not be able to do now. The festival in my village has been very long. I participated in it. It's nearing 9-10 years now because I don't even have the time. It may be a day you have one or two things doing outside the community and so on. And now I'm here in Ibadan. I may have to travel. I may be somewhere outside, far away. But in essence, change has to be embraced. You cannot not do it. Many of the people who hold those tenets are no longer around. Those who try to maintain it or sustain it have some other callings. One of my classmates was a rainmaker as a child, and today you will always find him on the pulpit. He has become a Christian and he has shared many of those things. So sometimes when we discuss, one of the best masquerade dancers I know is a parish priest somewhere in Lagos today. He's a priest. And sometimes when we sit there, we are also he was a year my senior in the school. So sometimes when we sit down and discuss some of these things, we will laugh at the past. But not laughing that what we did was wrong or was right, but laughing that now that changes have come, we have lost some of those things. Did we create problems for others? Did we impugn on individual rights? No. In fact, when we are doing okay, let me even go. When we were, I don't know the English of King or Jiwere, when you wake people for the Sahur in Ramadan, when you wake people for Sahur during Ramadan, you are not waking just the Muslims. You are waking everybody. It affects
everyone.
Yes, it affects everyone. And that's how I joined there's a guy called Jalili in Samonda and I. So when he comes around, he wouldn't even call my name sometimes. So we did it. My parents would wake up. They were not Muslims. And I know that other parents would also wake up in the course of that. So yes, it would happen, but at the same time, there is also a place for us to build understanding and ensure that these practices are as clean as they can be. The community in Ozoro says it is a prayer season for fertility for women who don't have children, and also for bountiful harvest. Now, the custodian of the shrine where the festival begins had gone to the farm early in the morning to pray for the farm, for the yield, for a good yield for the year. And in the afternoon, late afternoon, between 3 and maybe 7 p.m., they will pray for barren women who don't have married women who don't have children yet. And during that time, you were to announce to the community that young ladies are to stay indoors. But they announced in only their own community. There are 5 towns that make up the Ozoro Kingdom, and they have one Ovie. It's just like a Kole, which I mentioned earlier. There is Isaba, there is Asin. There are many communities that make up Ikole, but they have an Ele Kole, who is the paramount ruler of the Egbeoba Kingdom. Now, in Ozoro too, you have 5 towns, and one of the towns that did that, I'm trying to remember the name, announced the restriction for young ladies only in their own town. They did not
do that for the other communities.
And there is a University of Southern Delta in one of those communities. And you know that there are students there. Yes, the students are said to be on holiday and things like that. But all I'm trying to say in essence is that there is a lot we still need to do, growing and learning from what happened in Ozoro.
So based on reports, do you think what happened was actually avoidable?
It was. Because we've never had this before. So if it had been something repeating itself, we would have said, they did it so number of years ago, or last year, or the year before the last. But because we saw it for the first time, it means that they mishandled the information. And it is avoidable because if you had said, okay, we are going to do this, like I said, they do festivals, they do Oro, and many times, look at Ikorodu in Lagos State. It is Ojumokon, Ishajekoni, and some people are restricted. My elder brother once told me that he couldn't go out because there was some festival going on. And he could not go out until, say, 10 a.m. or 12 noon that day. So it still happens. And there hasn't been crisis as we should know it. So if Ozoro had mismanaged this, then they know that the negative, all the problems they have encountered going forward with this will now mean that they will handle it better, so that it can go the way it was before this incident got blown to the whole world.
Okay, now can we now consider this to be a failure of regulation, enforcement, or cultural leadership?
No. It is not a failure of regulation, because like I said, if we hadn't heard of any incident before now, then that wasn't a failure of regulation. So this was mishandled. I think it's a failure of information. Failure of communication. Perhaps it may be negligence on the part of some individuals in this. Negligence in the sense that if you had informed everybody and made enough adequate announcements, information, public enlightenment, then people would have restricted. Yes, people will make these sacrifices, and when they make these sacrifices, they will go. But when the information was improperly handled, and some people now took the opportunity, even when you say young ladies, unmarried women should not come out, are you saying they should, if they mistakenly come out, they should be sexually assaulted? That's not what it's supposed to mean. So I think there is a mishandling of a lot of things here, but that does not mean that it's a failure. But here, well, to a large extent, to some extent, you may say it's a failure of communication and so on, which is also a failure. But generally, it is not regulation. No, the regulations are there. Some people just didn't do their job.
Okay, now, when you consider the media coverage of what happened in Ozoro, would you say the coverage was fair? Or was it the coverage that actually amplified the tension?
It was the coverage that made us understand that there is a Alodo festival in Ozoro. If there was no coverage, we wouldn't have known. If there was no coverage, rather, we wouldn't have known. And I didn't know there was such festival in Ozoro, but I know that sometimes in the hinterland there were some sacrifices made to maybe River Nun or some other Ethiopia and other rivers and so on and so forth. And I didn't know there were restrictions. If you go through Benin, if you go to Benin, you see that there are so many things done. Traditional places. In fact, you will see the sign that these are sacred grounds, so you don't just go to those places. And so the signs are there. Information, enlightenment, so that say this one now tradition people now ain't get them, leave them. You keep away. But this one now, the person whose duty it was to inform,
pass information across,
to create enlightenment beforehand, they no do them well. That's the way I look at it.
Okay, now let's now talk about regulation in the real sense of it. Should there be laws regulating cultural festivals across the country?
Yes.
To also aid modernization.
Now, it is pertinent to say that laws are in existence. There are laws. In fact, Nigeria is not suffering from lack of laws and regulations. We are only suffering from
enforcement,
especially warped enforcement. If you are arrested, I was once arrested, and the DPO to whom my case was taken was my classmate. And we ended up eating pepper soup and drinking in his office.
And that is all.
And it was a traffic offense. Though I still believe I wasn't wrong, because the police woman who was directing the traffic made a mistake. But of course, I needed to be arrested. So he came into the car, and I drove him to the police station. And the DPO was seated outside. So when I parked the vehicle and she was going to report, I was supposed to go to the counter and so the DPO called, they laugh as we approached. He happened to be a classmate, primary school, secondary school. He went to a polytechnic. I went to university. But classmates, you wouldn't say you don't know me.
Right.
Classmates for minimum of 11 years. So enforcement became an issue at that point. The woman insisted I was wrong. I insisted I was right, which was why I went to the station. You know, but on getting to the station, you know you don't enter in Nigeria. So enforcement is the problem. There are laws. There are regulations. Of course, there is the Constitution, which guarantees freedom of movement. If you know nothing, you know that the Constitution guarantees freedom of movement. It guarantees you freedom of association. There was one of the girls that was assaulted in Ozoro during the Aledo festival. Went to buy food. She is one of the students of the Southern Delta University. She went to buy food. The other one, the one whose video was everywhere, was even an indigene of the community. Who just, from some of the sources, who just didn't know that something was going on. So, if the people who we are enforcing that had said, okay, this person no, permits, or they just chase her back and say, go back, you are not supposed to. So, why assault her? That is the point where I love the fact that many people
been sorted out
were
without
arrested. I mean,
assaults.
Okay, now, during the Holy Week, which will start from Sunday, Sunday is Palm Sunday, there would be processions. And when me, now as a Catholic, I am processing with the priest with palm fronds, am I supposed to block the road for somebody who is going his way? No, you should take a part of the road. And if somebody now comes to infringe on your own right of movement, it becomes another issue entirely. But you are not supposed to create obstruction for the person.
For other people.
But if you create obstruction, you still have people who will horn. If you are driving, they will press. They will horn for you to leave the road. Some will shout at you, and so on and so forth. All you just need to do is leave the road. Do you have to fight or shout at the person who shouted at you? You understand what I'm trying to say? All I'm trying to say is that when those young men saw the young lady, the first thing to do is to send her back. Say, no, you are not supposed to
assault her.
So assaulting her is criminal, and I am totally in support of the fact that the police and the government and other authorities stepped in to make sure that they arrested the situation.
So can existing laws on assaults and human rights address these issues going forward? Or there has to be modification?
Well, if there would be modifications, I might say it has to do with the respective local communities. You know, some edicts, local government edicts, state assemblies, and so on. But it hasn't. The Constitution has, as an umbrella law, has covered all those things. The Constitution has covered all those things. Then it is now left for local governments and perhaps state governments to modify a few things and bring them up to speed, to modernity, and even leave certain legs for punishment if these laws are not obeyed, so that people can be safeguarded beforehand. The unfortunate thing is that Nigerians don't always know about a law until they have infringed on that law. Then you know that such laws exist. So I think we have enough laws. If there is now any need to upgrade or to modify also and so on, it has to do with individual communities, individual states, and local governments.
Having said that, what are the practical steps some communities should be taking now to forestall further occurrence of this kind of situation?
The first for me is enlightenment. Enlightenment, that is very important. Before now, we grew up to know of radio jingles that woke you up in the morning, radio jingles that have to do with your days, your activities in the day, and
when
your
raining,
yes, when it is
during
raining,
dry season to avoid fire, things like that.
Don't dump refuse on the
including the waterways.
Such jingles should be. We should recreate some of these things. I still learned a lot of things from Fumbedi, Magbe, Woye, Shagidi, and things like that. I mean, it's a social molding, societal molding.
Should that be considered
instrument.
corporate social responsibilities for media houses?
Well, yes, media houses, especially the electronic media. You know, it is corporate social responsibility on the one hand. On the other hand, the laws are supposed, the communities are supposed to have it as a constant thing. Towards that time, okay, we just rounded off with Ramadan.
Right.
Nobody will say they didn't know there was Ramadan. Enough enlightenment, enough jingles, adverts, and so on. So we should go back to something.
All right, Sam Woko, thank you for joining us on the show this morning. It has been an eye-opening session with you, and we do hope to have you one more time this week to discuss issues shaping the country, Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, it's a convenient point to draw the curtains on today's edition of Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television. We say thank you for joining us on this show. And of course, the Ozoro case and others like it remind us that society is constantly evolving. And with that evolution comes the responsibility to reassess long-held practices. Samson Balogun is my name, and of course on behalf of my co-host, Oluwayemi Adelakun, we say thank you for joining us on the show this morning. Bye for now. Join us tomorrow again.